Imagine locking the front door of your house, turning on the alarm, and going to sleep, fully believing you are safe. But what if the person who built your house left a master key under the mat? And tonight, a stranger just found it. That is exactly the nightmare scenario that unfolded across the global internet in early May 2026. A silent, invisible invasion compromised over 40,000 servers in a matter of hours. This wasn't a loud, destructive attack that announced itself with a ransom note. It was a surgical, catastrophic exploitation of the very foundation of the web. Millions of websites were suddenly exposed to complete hostile takeover. You might not know what cPanel is, but you interact with it every single day. It is the invisible dashboard that powers a massive percentage of the internet's websites, holding the keys to databases, private emails, and sensitive user information. And a critical flaw hidden deep within its code just broke the internet's front door wide open. It is officially known as CVE-2026-41940. But to the frantic cybersecurity experts watching their monitors, it was simply a digital apocalypse. How does a vulnerability this massive remain undetected? And more terrifyingly, who discovered it first? To understand the sheer scale of this disaster, we have to look at how modern web hosting works. Most businesses don't run their own servers. They rely on managed service providers, or MSPs, to do the heavy lifting. These MSPs act as digital landlords, housing hundreds or even thousands of client websites on a single server infrastructure. They are fortified, monitored, and supposedly secure. But the attackers didn't try to break down the walls of individual websites. They went straight for the landlord's master key. By targeting the cPanel vulnerability, they didn't just breach one company. They compromised thousands simultaneously. The exploit itself is known as an authentication bypass bug. In simple terms, it allowed attackers to access the core administrative interface of these websites without ever needing a username or a password. Think about that for a second. No phishing emails, no brute force password guessing, no tricking employees into handing over their credentials. The attackers simply knocked on the digital door, whispered a specific string of corrupted code, and the system welcomed them in with full, unrestricted administrative privileges. Once inside, they were ghosts. They had the power to read confidential emails, alter financial databases, or silently redirect traffic to malicious domains without tripping a single conventional alarm. The first tremors of this digital earthquake were felt in Southeast Asia. Analysts began noticing strange, unauthorized access logs originating from highly secured government networks in the region. At first, it looked like an isolated, highly targeted campaign, perhaps a nation-state actor focusing on regional political targets. But the scope of the attack was expanding faster than anyone could trace. Within hours, the invisible shockwave crossed the Pacific Ocean. Warning lights began flashing across network operation centers in the United States and Canada. The attackers were moving with automated precision, scanning the global internet for any server running a vulnerable version of the cPanel and Web Host Manager software. It became painfully clear that this was not a localized event. This was a global, synchronized harvest of data and control. Millions of websites were sitting in the crosshairs, completely undefended against an attack they couldn't even see coming. In war rooms across the globe, IT administrators were violently woken up by emergency pagers. They scrambled to their terminals, trying to lock down networks, only to realize the attackers already had the highest level of clearance. How do you fight an enemy who is already inside the house and holds the master keys to the security system? As panic spread through the cybersecurity community, Progress Software, the developers responsible for the affected infrastructure, initiated an emergency response protocol. Their engineers worked frantically to develop and deploy a critical security patch to close the authentication bypass loophole. But creating a patch is only half the battle. The real challenge is getting thousands of independent server administrators worldwide to apply that patch before the attackers find them. It was a terrifying, high-stakes race against the clock. For every server that was successfully updated and secured, another was quietly compromised by the automated scanning tools deployed by the hackers. Security firms released urgent bulletins warning that the vulnerability was being actively exploited in the wild. The message was clear: patch your systems immediately or assume you have already been breached. But the damage was already done. Over 40,000 servers were documented as compromised, representing a massive intelligence and data theft operation. What kind of data was extracted during that critical window of vulnerability? Corporate trade secrets, government communications, personal financial records. The true cost of the breach may not be fully understood for years. This incident exposes a terrifying reality about the infrastructure of the modern digital world. We build incredibly complex, towering digital economies on top of software foundations that are maintained by human beings. And human beings write flawed code. A single overlooked line of programming, a microscopic error in how a login screen handles data, can bring global networks to their knees. The cPanel's Zero Day of 2026 will be studied in cybersecurity classes for decades. It is a textbook example of a supply chain vulnerability, where attacking a central tool yields a massive, exponential payoff. But for the millions of users whose data was housed on those servers, it is a chilling reminder of our collective digital fragility. We trust these systems implicitly. We type our passwords, upload our documents, and assume the math and the code will keep us safe from the predators lurking in the dark corners of the web. But as this catastrophic breach proved, sometimes the lock on the door isn't just broken. Sometimes the door itself is an illusion. The patch has been released, the immediate bleeding has stopped, and the servers have been secured. The immediate crisis may have faded from the mainstream headlines, but the attackers who walked through that open door did not leave empty-handed. They are out there right now, sifting through terabytes of stolen data, planning their next move. So the next time you log into a website, trusting that your connection is secure and your data is private, ask yourself one question. Are you really alone in the system, or did someone else leave the back door open? But the absolute most terrifying part of this entire cPanel zero-day catastrophe isn't what they took on that specific night. It is what they left behind. When hackers bypass authentication completely using a flaw like CVE-2026-41940, they don't just grab your data and run. They plant backdoors. They weave their malicious code so deeply into the foundation of these servers that even after the official security patch is applied, they might still be watching, waiting, listening. And this brings us to a massive question, a question that keeps the top cybersecurity experts in the world awake at night. Are we already living in a post-privacy world? I want you to really think about this for a second. You wake up, you check your bank balance, you buy a coffee, you log into your work or school portal, you trust that the system is protecting you. But as we've seen, the system is fundamentally broken. Look at what else is happening right now in May 2026. It's not just cPanel. Look at the massive breach involving the Canvas learning management system, where the Shiny Hunters ransomware group claimed to have stolen roughly 275 million records tied to students and teachers and school districts across the United States. Millions of students were left completely locked out of their finals. Or look at Stryker, a multi-billion-dollar medical technology giant. Hackers didn't just steal their data. They initiated a catastrophic wiper attack that forced the shutdown of offices across 79 different countries, erasing data from over 200,000 systems. These aren't just isolated incidents. They are a coordinated digital war. And you and I? We are the collateral damage. So, I have to ask you guys a serious question, and I want you to be brutally honest with me right now. Head down to the comments section and tell me, Do you still trust big tech companies and service providers to protect your personal data in 2026? Or do you believe that your private information, your passwords, your addresses, your financial history, is already sitting on some dark web marketplace waiting to be sold to the highest bidder? Type yes if you feel safe online, or no if you think privacy is completely dead. I read every single comment you guys leave, and honestly, some of the most mind-blowing insights I've ever seen come directly from you. So let me know your exact thoughts down below. If you were an IT administrator who woke up at 3 a.m. to see a massive red "Access Denied" screen on your own servers, what would be your very first move? Would you pull the plug on the entire building, knowing it would cost your company millions? Or would you try to fight the hackers in real time? Let's debate this in the comments. If stories like this fascinate you, if you are obsessed with uncovering the dark, hidden truth behind the internet's biggest mysteries, cybercrimes, and corporate cover-ups, then you have officially found your new home. This channel isn't about giving you a boring 30-second news recap. We don't do surface-level journalism here. When you subscribe to this channel, you are joining an elite community of digital detectives. You get deep, cinematic, and heavily researched documentaries that expose exactly how these massive digital crimes are committed. We break down the psychology of the hackers, the catastrophic failures of the corporations, and most importantly, we give you the knowledge you need to understand the threats lurking just beneath your keyboard. We live in a world where the next global crisis won't be fought with tanks or missiles. It will be fought with code. And staying informed isn't just entertainment anymore. It is absolute survival. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, if you want to know the secrets that mainstream media barely understands, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Make sure you click the notification bell and set it to all, because our next documentary is already in production. And trust me, it is going to absolutely blow your mind. We are diving deep into an unsolved cyber mystery that goes straight to the top of the government. You do not want to miss it. Before you go, do me one quick favor. If you found this documentary valuable, if it opened your eyes to how fragile our digital world really is, smash that like button. It costs you absolutely nothing, but it is the single best way to support this channel and help push these critical stories out to more people who need to hear the truth. The internet is a vast, beautiful, but incredibly dangerous place. There are doors you should never open and links you should never click. Until next time, stay vigilant, check your passwords, and remember, the next time your screen flickers in the dark, you might not be the only one watching. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next investigation.